Okay, I just wanted to give some very easy tasks to do during the month of February and March. And the idea is that this can help you kind of get prepared, get your beds or your wherever it is you're going to plant ready for the season. And so some of them are specifically for February. And as you can tell, recently February has been just in terms of the weather all over the place. We've got some really sunny days where you can be outside in your shorts and t-shirt, and then the next day it's pretty cold. And so it's hard to really think about planting anything outside because we're definitely expecting some cold weather coming up in the next couple days and weeks. But you can definitely start cleaning your beds and around your perennials. This means pulling out any weeds that have been left behind from the winter, removing any of the leaves that have maybe just been kind of floating around since the fall. And you just want to clean all that stuff up and collect it because this will also help you build your compost pile. And so when your beds are clean, you've removed all plant matter from the top of the beds, you want to add a nice kind of layer of compost. So this is fresh, new soil that's high in minerals that will replenish the nutrients in your soil. And then you want to gently kind of till it back into the soil. Because you're not going to be planting for at least 1 month, I recommend you cover your bed. And you could use newspaper, you could use cardboard. I tend to use cardboard because it's just easy and readily available, and it holds. And you just want to make sure you put a weight on top to keep it from flying away. If you have blueberries or grapes or raspberries or any sort of perennial fruit in your garden, this would be also the time to do some pruning. So any tips of branches that look dead, you want to make sure you can cut those. You don't want to cut more than 1/3 of the plant. And so, yeah, you can definitely go in there and just kind of give your bushes a bit of a pruning. The other thing is if you have perennials, thinking mostly herbs, I would say, or any flower that's a perennial that you want to maybe move, this would be the time to do it. Most of these plants are dormant. All their energy is being stored in their roots. And so this would be a great time to dig them out. If, for example, you have mint that grows really big, you can separate. This would be a good time to split them and separate them and plant them in different locations. And then you can just plant them, water them, and keep them, outside. And then hopefully in a few weeks, they'll start developing some leaves and some flowers. The other one is starting seedlings. In my experience, most schools have growth. A great opportunity that you utilize those grow lids for starting seedlings. This is something you can do in the classroom. It's something that you will see every day, and that will help you kind of like get in a routine of checking on your plants. I think it's something that really attracts kids, and you can see on the day-to-day how these plants are growing and changing, and you get to monitor light, humidity, and all this other stuff. So definitely take advantage of those. If you don't have them, you can always think about buying them. They're not that expensive nowadays, so that would be an interesting one. The other one is chit your potatoes. This is a way you kind of prepare your potato seeds. I think it's also a phrase you'll have fun saying in class. Kids, I think, will enjoy it. And we'll explain how to do that in a little further. And then everything you've collected from your garden, all this can be utilized for starting a compost. So collect all this stuff and make sure you set it into a pile and start your compost. So these are some of the few things you can do in February. And then we have March. So March definitely starts to get a little warmer, especially towards the end of the month. So there's definitely more opportunities to start planting things outside. One is mulching all your perennial plants. So any plants you have in your garden that are perennial, that means that they come back every year, you definitely want to lay a nice layer of mulch around them. This will hold in humidity, will prevent weeds from coming back up. It'll make your garden look nice. And so that's a nice activity to do during the month of March. The other one is plant your potatoes once your daffodils are in full bloom. Thankfully, wherever you go this time of season, you can start seeing daffodils coming out of the ground, and some weeks we'll see them bloom. So when they're in full bloom, which is around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, that's like a great indication that you should be planting your potatoes right away. And potatoes will take about 180 days, so you'll really get to see them grow. It's such a rewarding plant once you finally like dig it out and find the potatoes in there. It really is fun to do with students. You could start direct sowing. That means you could start putting stuff directly into the ground. Obviously, you always run a bit of risk if there's another cold snap. But radishes, turnips, carrots, arugula, those will tend to do well. And if you have a chance to cover them with some row cover, I would definitely suggest doing that. The other one is planting peas. We usually say after St. Patrick's Day, when the temperatures are between 55 and 65. That is an ideal time. But yeah, anytime after St. Patrick's Day, your snap peas, your sugar snap peas, those can go directly into the ground and they'll start growing. That's an excellent, easy plant in the garden. You'll need a trellis, maybe like a net or something for the plant to trellis on, but it's great to have. It's a great garden snack once they're growing. You can just walk out there and eat them fresh off the vine. They're really crisp and delicious, and I think kids will really like them. Then transplants. If you did grow some plants inside the classroom or with the technique that we'll show you in a couple minutes, that would usually include greens, kale, chard, lettuce, then this would be a great opportunity to plant them outside. And even though there might still be a risk of getting low temperatures, you can utilize this technique that's in the picture below, where you take a water bottle, you cut it, and you put it on top of the plant, just like you see there, and that creates like a nice little greenhouse for the plant. It'll protect it, it'll keep the moisture in, and I would even encourage you to do some plants with bottles, some plants without bottles, and that way you can see the difference, and you'll see that the ones under the plastic will definitely like grow better and look healthier than the ones a little more exposed to the elements. And the other thing you can do in March, and I really encourage schools to do this, because especially with all the work that teachers have, the garden can get overwhelming. And so thinking about plants that require less work, that can come back every year, that are still edible, but not, that don't require consistent maintenance, this would be the time to add them. My favorite is asparagus. It'll take 3 years from seed to really start producing asparagus, but once it does, it's amazing. It's the best like March garden snack you can think of. It's also, it'll blow people's mind when they see them growing. They're super fast growing. But yeah, it'll take 3 years to establish, but you could also find them at a nursery, and you can find them at 1 or 2 years already to kind of reduce the time to wait. But those will grow in the spring, and then they produce these beautiful fronds during the rest of the year. But yeah, there's very little maintenance, very little work to do with them. Another varieties are sunchokes or Jerusalem artichoke. This is another perennial that grows really well in this area. Any type of berry, herbs, pollinator flowers, all these are excellent options that will not only like attract pollinators, beautify your garden, but also reduce maybe the amount of work that you might have to do in the garden. So that's kind of for March. Definitely you can start planting some things, but you really want to prepare for April when things really start coming in strong. And then let's see. All right, this is how to start your seedlings. And this will do with, we'll be using milk jugs, which, we all have them either from milk or apple cider or other things, but they're readily available. You can ask students to bring them from home. You need some seed starting mix. That means it's a special type of soil that's very easy for seeds to grow in. You want scissors and a blade, tape, pen, and seeds. The seeds that work ideal for this are any of the lettuce greens, cooking greens like kale and chard, spinach, also your brassicas like broccoli and cauliflower. These are all what's called your cool season plants, and they'll grow really well in the spring. So once you have all these materials, we'll get started. Very easy. You get your water jug, you wash it, you rinse it, you make sure all the milk's gone, and you can tell that part right under the handle. You want to cut all around the bottle, except for that part. So you can see in the second picture there, right where I make the incision. And then you cut all the way around, and you can see how that one part under the handle is still attached in picture 4. Then you want to come in and poke a bunch of holes on the bottom. This will help with drainage. You want to be able to hold on to some of the water, but any excess water needs to leave, or otherwise it'll rot your roots. And like I said, you want to get a seed starting mix. This one I've selected here is also really interesting to like play with. It's a very flaky, very loose type of soil. And I think in terms of like texture, I think people always find it very interesting. So you'll want to fill up the half part of that container with soil. You want to poke some holes. I usually do around 9, and you can put 1 or 2 seeds in each hole. Cover them up nicely. Water them. Make sure when you water that you're not just watering the surface, but that the water is seeping all the way to the bottom of the container. And you can see in the picture there how the water is seeping, but it's not covered everything. And so you want to make sure that when you water enough that that all the soil in there has been watered. I used this water container for purposes of the picture, but it's actually, you want to be careful how you water your seeds. You don't want to use a lot of pressure that might push the seeds back out. So definitely water, but water carefully and gently so that you're not pushing your seeds out of the soil. But once you've watered them, then you just tape them up. Tape them up and set them outside. If it's ideally, you can just set them outside where they can get full sun. But if they don't, if for some reason you're going to be gone, or it'll drop below 32 one day, and you can bring them into the classroom, put them next to a window, and it'll do great. In a couple of weeks, your plants will be ready, and you can transplant them outside into the ground. This is an easy technique. It'll work great in the spring and in the fall. We're basically reusing, something we were going to throw out, yeah, it's just a very easy, cheap way to grow seedlings, and it's very low maintenance because the fact that it serves as like a greenhouse. It'll capture the moisture. It'll evaporate, but it'll stick on the bottle, and then it'll just like come back down. So it's almost like a self-watering system. Still, I would go out, check on them, make sure things are growing. But yeah, around mid-April, some of these should be ready to be moved outside. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you was having some difficulties here. Chitting potato seeds. All right, like I said, this is a fun thing to say, and it's very, very simple. You'll want to plant your potatoes in around the 2nd or 3rd week of March. But in order to be ready, you want to allow these potato seeds to sprout. And you want, ideally what you're looking for is what you have on the second picture. These very low to the ground, very purple in color, kind of roots already coming out of the potato. And a way to encourage that is you can put all your potatoes in an egg carton, kind of like in this picture. You want to have them all facing up. and you want to keep them anywhere in your classroom with indirect light. And this will be an interesting thing to watch, almost day by day, week by week, just how they start growing. And I think it's just like a neat, easy thing to have in the classroom and have students see it grow. You don't want more than 3 or 4 of these growths per potato. So if you see extra ones, you can just kind of cut them off. Just like with your finger, you can like flick them off. But once they look like that picture, that means they're perfect. They're ready to go in the ground. If for some reason you start seeing these very long kind of eyes and rather than purple, they're like a light green, that means they're not getting enough sun. So you're definitely going to have to move them so that they're getting more sun. But yeah, this is another easy technique, something you can have in your classroom that's really interesting, and you can watch it grow in your classroom as well. So yeah, these are just 2 basic techniques, activities that you can do in your classroom to start getting your plants in your garden ready for the spring. And so that's all I wanted to share with you. If you're interested in learning more about the programs that Arcadia has, definitely contact. You can email us and contact my coworker, Meredith Prescott. She is in charge of field trips, small groups, and farm camp. Yeah, we are looking forward to creating more of these workshops to assist students and teachers and hopefully get some of these school gardens growing and producing a lot of food and maintaining these beautiful green spaces for our students.